I've seen cases whereby maybe somebody borrowed money from all these
Yeah.
mini micro loan
Loan
sharks.
apps, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got a call. I'm like, okay, if we don't pay up, and I'm like, I'm not the one that collected loan from you. Why are you calling me? Where did you get my number from?
Access. That person was the gateway for them to access your own
Of course, obviously.
data. Let's say AI becomes so supernatural tomorrow that it can control human beings.
Yeah.
It can use it to manipulate me, but
Yeah.
because we are not there yet, I mean.
Welcome back to Close and Effect Show with Jumi and JT, the Smart Conversational Log podcast, where fine prints is turned into clear conversations. And today we're talking about everyone's favorite but creepy topic, data privacy. Now, let's start with a question. When you're logging into Netflix, scroll Instagram, or even shop on Jumia, do you ever stop to wonder who's watching you while you watch them? If you have ever Googled back pain remedies or why your head is aching you, and suddenly Instagram thinks you need a chiropractor or a yoga mat or a new mattress, congratulations, your data is working overtime. Now let's get to it.
Yeah.
What's data privacy?
So, data privacy is the concept that an individual,
Yeah,
someone like you and I, or every other Nigerian,
yeah,
we have right to privacy, right, or a right to private life,
yeah,
which is something that even our constitution, which I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are familiar with,
yeah.
recognizes. So, if you want to delve into that, you may check what chapter 4 says, I believe. So that principle that you have a right to private life essentially means whatever concerns me should stay with me.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the privacy aspect.
Yeah.
The data aspect says, as an individual, Jimmy, you have your likes. You have things that you like. I like coffee, right? I have other things I like. I have habits, right, as an individual. So the mixture of both now says what you consider your data or your personal data or some sort of data that is directed at you or that is peculiar to you should be private, right, on a normal day.
Yes.
You can then say, oh, I choose to disclose it, or I choose for maybe Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C to have access to it.
Yeah.
So in simple summary, that's what data privacy is. And well, the question then is, how does it play out on a day-to-day basis? For instance, the one I'm most used to is whenever I Google something, IG will find a way to
bring it
sometimes
down to
I don't
your
even have
feed.
to Google it. I think I was making a call
and you
the other
mentioned
day,
this,
and I mentioned something,
and it feels as if someone was listening to the conversation, not the other party.
Yeah. So the next minute I saw an ad about it. So
and
it
you're
just
wondering, are you guys witches?
like, who is listening, right? Like literally who is listening. And I know that it comes in different ways in terms of how they can actually get that information. But that's why it's important in some cases that, okay, what is data privacy? How should we as individuals care about it, and why it matters?
So I think, okay, just like you said, data privacy is a kind of way data is being taken or stored, managed, and controlled. You understand? And this idea of because I've seen cases whereby maybe somebody borrowed money from all these mini micro loan sharks.
Apps,
And then I got a call. I'm like, okay, if we don't pay up, and I'm like, I'm not the one that collected loan from you. Why are you calling me? Where did you get my number from? I mean, it's very annoying. It's actually very annoying when party decides to loan money from a app, whatever. I don't know, whatever they called. But then you're calling, you go through the person's contact list and start calling every one of them. I feel like it's a breach of
Yeah,
privacy,
yeah,
because why are
yeah,
you calling me? Why are you harassing me for somebody else's money? I mean, when the person came to you, you took the person's picture, you took their details, their NIN, their maybe passports, whatever, photograph, or their international passport, the details there. Then the person probably runs away with your money, and then you're calling me. I mean, why are you calling
yeah,
me? I
yeah. I
wasn't there when you
mean,
guys were making the agreement.
so I think FCCPC has to some extent nipped that in the bud. I'm not sure
It's
they've done
still
it successfully,
it's
but
still
I would say
ongoing.
is yeah. Or because I know I had a couple of experiences like that, and at some point it stopped. Right?
I
Maybe
had a
I
lot.
don't.
I
I
had a lot
don't
of
know.
experience, and I'm like, who is this? Who borrowed money from who? Why are you harassing
The,
me?
the, the crazy thing is that it's not in all instances that they will tell you who
Of course,
borrowed the
of
money.
course,
Yeah.
of
So you
course.
don't even know
But
to
it's
trace.
quite annoying. It's quite annoying when you just receive, when you're probably just thinking about, oh, how you're going to spend your day, and the call comes in, you're thinking that probably somebody, and then you pick up the call and they're telling you somebody borrowed money from somewhere, and then you have, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
ow.
So I mean, if we could go back a little
Yeah,
to how they got your contact, right? How it works in my head is that at the point of that person getting the loan, right? They would, because it's an app, like a Google app.
of
So
course.
typically their app will ask for
Access
access.
access
Do
to
you get?
data, to contact, to
Yeah.
whatever
To
it
the
is.
call logs, the
And
contact
yes, and
logs.
yet people will click agree,
Agree,
agree without
agree,
reading. You
agree.
see the effect
So what
of
happens is that if you don't agree, they won't give you the money in many
oh,
instances.
true. You have
Because
a
they too,
point.
they will
They're also trying
what
to manage.
do you get? So it's that person's uh, access. That person was the gateway for them to access your
Of
own
course, obviously.
data and whatnot. But again, going back to why it matters, right? Um, as individuals, we should care about our data, and we have every reason to, because the law has given us enough framework and enough protection. I think that's
Yeah.
one good thing that I would say about our legislature, that they've tried in that regard. So, for instance, if you as a Nigerian are curious about what the law typically says or where you can find information
Mm-hmm.
relating to your data privacy, the first point of call would be the Constitution,
Yeah.
which we had mentioned. It gives you the right to private life.
But
Private life,
but
yeah.
okay, apart from the law that okay offers a like serves as a guide or backup for
Mm,
this, do you know? I don't think people realize how much data they give away when you go to a public space, and then you what's it called now? You connect to the free. You know, Nigerians like free things a
we
lot. I
like
mean,
free
you connect to
things.
the free internet, to the free Wi-Fi, and all of that, and of course, when you are connecting, whatever feed you are using the internet to browse or and all of that, I mean,
Yeah,
it's being
yeah,
stored
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
is
yeah.
monitoring somewhere.
Yeah, that's
Somebody,
where data security comes in, because what your typical IT guy would tell you is that don't connect to unnecessary
of
Wi-Fi,
course,
because you don't know who
who
is
is,
offering you that free thing.
of
Do
course,
you get? Because they could give you free access, but be accessing your own information back end. So we as
definitely,
Nigerians too need to look at our habits
yeah.
and say, because it's a trade-off. If you get free Wi-Fi and they get access to all your bank information and all
Oh
of that,
my,
what's the you compare the advantage and disadvantage?
yeah.
It doesn't balance out. So again, that's where the data security comes in. You as an individual have to care enough to secure yourself, right? Such that you are not giving people access to your data when they don't need access to it.
So because the thing is, I would consider data as oil. I mean, let me see, let's just say it's the new oil. So I know most of the time when you're pouring oil, it spills. So what happens when the data gets spilled? Like because people do, I don't think people understand the gravity of okay, this free internet thing, or you click subscribe, or you click accept.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know those like you're giving a piece of information away of your browsing habits, of your of whatever it is you do on the internet. I don't think people understand that much gravity of how predictable you are. Even when it comes to chat GPT, I was using chat GPT I think a few days ago, I was just asking like a question, try to like put my thoughts together and all of that. And
Mm.
I was astonished, like because probably because I've used it in the past few months, it still had to gather the data or me like trying to analyze when I'm like, oh well, I fed you the information in the first place
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So
So you
you
can
have a
go with
right, you
it.
can go on, you can go on. So this
Yeah,
is what it is. I mean, people being exposed to different, especially for this in quotes public free internet and all of that, just gathering and storing data and all of that.
yeah,
It's a whole
yeah.
lot.
I'm just to clarify, it's not in every case that sharing your data is a bad idea,
Yeah, it's not in
right?
every
Like,
case.
Nigerians need to appreciate that. That's my own personal philosophy, that
Yeah,
I can give my data to a particular service if I know them having access to my data improves
yeah.
the kind of service
The
offerings
offer,
they
yeah.
offer me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get? So, because just like you said, if I'm using a particular AI tool, right? I don't want, if I come tomorrow, don't see me as a stranger, right? Work based on your understanding of
Of
what I
what
had
have
given
been
you
you, yeah,
previously, because that
previously
means you know where
to
I
an
am
extent.
probably going with a question.
But don't you find it creepy? Do you find it creepy?
That's why I say it's a personal philosophy. If I gave you the consent, I wouldn't say it's creepy.
Okay.
It's creepy because you can, of course, use it against me. Let's say AI becomes so supernatural tomorrow that it can control human beings.
Yeah,
It can use it to manipulate me, but
yeah.
because we are not there yet, I mean.
I mean, I hope we don't get there anyway.
So, I the places where I see it as creepy really is, excuse me, in instances where I didn't give you access or
Yeah.
I didn't know I gave you access.
Why won't you
Do you
know
get?
you gave me access?
Because look, for instance, IG has a lot of terms and conditions
Yeah, that's true,
about
which
how
I
they
have
will
never
access.
read.
I'm not singling out IG, but just any social media.
Yeah, any social
They
media
have these
have
long terms and conditions.
conditions.
Do you
Yeah.
think everybody will read
Nobody
it?
actually,
Do you?
nobody wakes up
Yeah,
and
and interestingly, what recently happened is that I think IG or Meta, the parent
yeah.
company, got fined by FCCPC or NDPC
Okay.
because they had accessed data. I think they agreed to a 32 million US dollars settlement
Okay.
recently because they had accessed our information, that's
Yeah.
Nigerian users'
Mm-hmm.
information, and used it in a way that I think we had not consented to,
Yeah.
which was why they should share that money, in all honesty, to each and every one of us. But
Yeah.
well, that's another story. But it just gives you an example of how some of these large social media companies use
Yeah.
it in a creepy way, because you probably didn't know you consented, or they probably didn't get your consent to process their
Yeah, and
data.
then this idea of, because you gave an example the other time of probably making a phone call and just mentioning something to someone, and maybe later in the day you're just scrolling on internet and it brings out like same similar information or
Yeah,
product. I
yeah,
mean, I find that creepy because
yeah, yeah.
imagine me thinking I was having a conversation with somebody at the other end of the phone, and then I was just going through my day, probably just checking my phone and all of that, and I keep seeing something I mentioned
Mm,
to
mm, mm.
to a second party being brought.
Being brought to your face, like
I
we are
mean,
listening. I
it's a
mean,
kind
what else
of
are they listening to? Yeah.
exactly. So what are they listening to?
So what I think is also that there are instances where, and we may get a bit technical here,
Okay.
there are instances where you have several apps on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have several tools on your phone.
Yeah.
Tool A or app A may not have access to maybe your what's it called,
The
voice,
voice.
this thing,
Yeah.
voice data, let's
Yeah.
call it voice data,
Yes.
but app B has
As
access to it.
access.
So what app B does is that it takes your data and sells it
Hmm.
to app A,
Yeah.
such that app A will sort of deduce that this information came from this
Yeah.
person, so I can market. So that's another thing that some of our data protection laws try to mitigate. But again, it's a bit complex
It's a very
because,
complex.
yeah,
I feel
if
it's
you
a very
consented
complex
to
issue.
app B selling your data,
Data, yeah.
you wouldn't know at the point when they are selling it.
Yes,
So,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
It's a.
that's
I
the,
feel data privacy is a very complex topic, and it goes in circles.
yeah,
For the
yeah,
lack of a better word,
yeah,
it's a whole lot. I
yeah,
mean, probably you are in a public space and they are shooting a music video, and someone just brings like camera to your face, and probably you do, for someone that doesn't even like the media, or you don't, and then the issue of why you making a
video, yeah,
video of me and all that, then violence springs up. So it's a very critical, at the same time very complex issue, which I feel like I don't know how far our laws can go
yeah, can go.
or
Yeah,
get a.
I think the basic thing that maybe Nigerians can take away is that be familiar with places where you can complain when you have a problem. And the law, to some extent, has made that simple,
Yeah,
right? The first recourse for a problem is who you consider your data controller.
yeah,
The data controller is essentially, the person you give data to, or they call them controller or processor, the
yeah,
person you give the data to. So if tomorrow I walk into a restaurant and I give them my information, right? The moment I give them my information, they are the processor and they are the controller. So
yeah,
if I feel that something wrong happened because of their processing,
yeah,
I write to them that you're doing something wrong. That's one of the recourse. The
uh,
second one is the commission, the NDPC and
the
etc.
question is, we are in a technology age, as
Yeah,
it's where, I mean, how many things do you as a person even want to control, unless you are going
yeah,
to stay without the use of technology?
yeah. That's
I
the
mean, and that's almost impractically
it's
impossible
impractical.
unless
Yeah,
you want to go inside the bush and stay alone, which is impossible
yeah,
as well. But then it's like we said, it's a issue that keeps evolving over and over. We keep hearing new cases of different angles and aspects of it, and it feels like it's a whole lot. But the thing is, a lot of people, like we said earlier, when you want to create an account, maybe on the app, you download an app, you want to create an account, you press click, yes, no, and all of that. I don't think people really understand how much of data they are putting. People just think clicking on yes or clicking on no, I agree, yes, I agree, just felt like asking questions. They
yeah,
don't. I don't think they understand that you are giving them total access and total control over your personal data.
yeah. So I mean, that's why podcasts like this are set up, because you start from a small place of understanding. Once you are start appreciating, okay, this is why this exists, and this is the understanding of the kind of protections I have,
Yeah,
you then start to appreciate the consequences and the effects more and more.
yeah,
And just so we don't forget this point also, that data, or every Nigerian, you have data rights,
yeah.
or you have certain rights as a data subject or as an individual, right? The right, for instance, to be forgotten. That's it. That's an interesting
Wow.
right. but
Okay.
it's part of the right that is, I think, sanctioned under the Data Protection Act of 2023,
Yeah.
that you have a right to be forgotten. And I think someone enforced it a few years ago, but
Mm,
I don't think it was successful. I think the case was struck out for some reason, but
okay.
I can't remember the end. Maybe Google. I think it was a pastor, if I remember the facts of the case.
Okay.
So a pastor had, I think, a case of fraud
Oh wow.
in the UK or outside the country,
Okay.
and he wanted to enforce his right to be forgotten here in Nigeria, something of that nature. But again, just to cite that instance, that
Yeah.
it's part of a right. So what you would do if you want to enforce that right is you write to a Facebook and say, delete my data, right?
Is he
And
actually deleted?
so what they can do is they will delete your personal data.
Yeah.
They can keep some things, maybe on the basis of the law requires it, right?
Okay.
They call it retention
Yeah.
period. So they can
For a
retain
certain number of
for a certain number
months,
of years.
years.
Yeah, but I can once I write to them that delete my personal account, they can't maintain that account and they can't keep the data behind that account. So that's part of the right that Nigerians can enforce if they want to.
So basically, I think it's also important to note that your personal data is valuable, so it's not something that you should give away freely,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
with the rise of people selling data
yeah, yeah,
over here and there and all of that. And privacy law, in as much as privacy law exists, is awareness is also key,
yeah.
of course, because I don't know if people understand that okay, they have right to privacy. I mean, we understand that the elite knows that, but to the regular average
Person.
Nigerians, we need to also emphasize that they have a right to their privacy. And then of course, but my privacy has its, everything has its limits and extent
Mm,
anyways. And
yeah.
also um it's also important to note that if the product is free, then you
You are
are
the
the
product.
product.
Yeah,
It's
that's
that simple.
fundamental.
If the product is free, free Wi-Fi, my God, why would you think if the product is free that the consumer is the product?
Yeah, I mean, how do they? What's that phrase in that there's no free lunch anywhere?
Hmm.
Someone is paying for it.
Someone is paying
So
for it,
if
definitely.
you feel you're getting something for free, you're the product essentially.
So it's just that, and with the, of course, with the age of technology, a lot of things. I mean, nothing is actually a secret.
Yeah,
Not, I
yeah.
don't think anything is private. It might just be
Nothing is
private to
new.
your next, to the next person, maybe your neighbor, but I don't think anything is actually private,
Yeah.
private in quotes. Again, remember, don't click okay or yes or no
Mm,
too quickly. Ensure that you understand what you're clicking to avoid unnecessary access to your data and to keep yourself safe out there, to avoid fraud or impersonation from anyone. And on these notes, this episode is coming to an end. Thank you for listening to Clause and Effects, the Smart Conversational Law Podcast. Remember someone out there who knows what you're binge watching on, but at least you know why. If this episode gave you something to think about or laugh about, hit the subscribe button and share it with a friend who definitely doesn't read cookie pop-ups. And if you have ever had a creepy ad experience, for example, you browse something 72 hours ago and then the next 72 hours they're bringing it up your way, please send it via our mail address at clauseeffect.co@gmail.com. You see it below on the screen and we might just feature it in a future episode. So until next episode, have a nice time.